come in with a new review. It means that we could be buying fuel at 215 shillings a litre for petrol and 206 shillings a litre for diesel and around 202 shillings for kerosene. Kerosene then would experience 70 shillings jump, diesel 66 shillings jump, and for petrol 59 shillings in one review. And you wonder how it's going to be, because then your president also did say that in the meantime, he understands that the cost of transportation and the cost of living is a bit high, which needed some sort of temporal solution. Again, it goes on to say then that the CBK is going to review guidelines on transactions exceeding 1 million shillings. It's also going to revert all the clearing and forwarding operations to the Port of Mombasa, but then again to review the guidelines for listing at the credit reference bureaus. But then you ask yourself the question, is it not the same thing? Because then, how do you get listed? You get listed when you mess up your credit score. That's essentially that. So if you give me a bad credit score, nobody's going to give me money. Essentially what you're doing is listing me. It's just that. You're saying, well, you don't have a proper credit score, so I'm not going to give you money. Same thing that is currently going on right now. That you've been blacklisted, you've got to correct your credit score for you to get more money. At a time when we have risk-based lending as well. So you wonder, how are they going to come in and marry? Lots of questions than answers. This is the thing. Is it going to be 100 shillings? When? Is it going to be 215 shillings? Let's wait this evening. Are you going to be blacklisted? Or is your credit score going to allow you to get money? Let's wait and see. This is Look Up Business. We are live at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. I am Kiage Simba. Let's get started. Now, Kenyans will have to wait longer to know what awaits them at the pump today, as new President William Ruto indicated Tuesday it will imminently drop the fuel subsidy, which will immediately translate to higher transportation and production costs. In his inauguration speech, President Ruto was adamant that the economy cannot sustain consumption subsidies, which may usher in a new era of market forces of demand and supply, which will at least in the short term mean high prices as the market corrects, even as Ruto plans to adopt his new strategy to take shape in the few days to come. It will still be a matter to be seen, as Dr. Ruto noted that the cost of living, especially food and transportation, was unaffordable to most households, adding that was a solution needed, or an urgent solution was needed if the new president sees to the removal of fuel subsidy that immediate former President Uhuru Kenyatta has been running on. Pump prices could shoot above the 200 shillings per litre mark for the first time. All right, let's move on to the next story. In international development, non-profit organization TechnoServe, with the support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, has launched the Technical Assistance Accelerator program that aims at increasing the levels of food fortification in the country. The program will now act as a guide for the Ministry of Health, Kenya Bureau of Standards, and other industry players as the new government takes over. The new president, Dr. William Ruto, has already expressed his intention to ratify the food industry in the country. Kenyan millers are already looking forward to working within the program sponsored by TechnoServe. They add that a new direction is needed in the industry, especially at a time when the outgoing government has faced challenges in finding a lasting solution to maize challenges locally.
Basically, we are looking upon the government to give us an enabling environment whereby we can be able to execute our duties. And Currently, as you are aware, there is no maize in this country. Basically, what is there is quite little. So we are looking upon to see the incoming government, what they are going to offer us or what plans they have. Yesterday, I heard the president saying that by the end of this week, we should be having unga at 100. And we highly welcome the sentiment of the president. I think he is a bit sensitive on what is happening to the local to the consumer. So we are looking at how we can engage with him. We want to know what he has in mind. They have not yet reached to us as the leadership of the milling industry.
Even as President Ruto takes over with a promise to bring down the cost to 100 shillings, the millers say that stockists in the country have to be part of the plan, as they had earlier caused a shortage of the commodity as they sought to get high prices through hoarding of the product. A factor that saw immediate former President Uhuru Kenyatta's program fail to realize its goal.
During the last subsidy program, we had some few issues here and there that we had not foreseen when we were launching this program. But basically, the program was not. The problem was not from the millers. The problem was from the stockists. These are people who bought this unga from us, and they decided to retain the unga until the end of the subsidy, so that they can be able to reap so much from that unga. So I think with the incoming subsidy, we hope some of those loopholes the government will see what to do. Otherwise, if that one is done, 100% sure the maize will be available in every corner of this country.
TechnoServe recognized that even as the new program awaits validation from the new government, there still exists challenges in the food chain in the country, like inputs. They now hope that the new drive from Ruto to reduce fertilizer costs will extend into other areas to finally get a lasting solution.
So I think that there is a wide range of issues that are plaguing industry, especially when it comes to inputs. So we've seen some cases of supply chain shortages, and there's some kind of broader macroeconomic issues that the millers also need, assistance with. So we're working with the likes of the Cereal Millers Association, for instance, to see how we can kind of boost their self-regulation, number one, but to also help them engage with government institutions, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Health, KEBS, for instance, to make sure that they have adequate supply of their raw inputs and they continue to produce at a level that is satisfactory to consumers, and consumers continue to access adequately fortified foods. So it's a whole food systems approach. It starts with the inputs, obviously, quality inputs, grains and vitamins and minerals as well, but it goes all the way up to the processor level. So we're trying to intervene throughout the entire system to make sure that we strengthen those really critical components.
For Look at Business, Simba Kiage. President William Ruto has promised to bring economic change in Kenya and reduce the high cost of living. Ruto has said this during his inauguration as the 5th president of Kenya in Kasarani Stadium. To achieve these changes, Ruto has promised to reduce the cost of living, reduce the price of products by fixing flour and oil subsidies, creating job opportunities for youth, empowering farmers by reducing the price of fertilizers and seeds, simplifying credit methods for small businesses, and serving loans faced by the nation. And John Mukora reports.
His maiden speech as the 5th president of Kenya, President William Ruto has promised to bring economic revolution in the country. Ruto has said that Kenya's economy will be focused on reducing the high cost of living that Kenyans are currently facing, saying that Kenyans complained about it during the campaign period.
We anchored our campaign on the platform of the economy premised on job creation and the well-being of the people of Kenya, and we have been working continuously on the measures to bring down the cost of living.
Ruto has said the price of food and transportation will be solved by eradicating the fuel subsidy, which has cost the nation 60 billion for 4 months, and the unga subsidy, which has cost the nation 7 billion in 1 month.
Our priority intervention, therefore, is to make fertilizer, good quality seed, and other agricultural inputs affordable and available. For the short rains, For the short rains, we have already made arrangements to make 1.4 million bags of fertilizer available at Kenya shillings 3,500 for a 50-kilogram bag, down from the current 6,500.
Ruto has said the main solution to the problem is to empower producers, including farmers, through availing affordable fertilizer and quality seeds. Ruto has also promised that from next week, farmers will get 1.4 million sacks of fertilizer at 3,500 shillings from the current price of 6,500 shillings. He also said the tea leaf farmers will get fertilizer from KTDA for 3,500 shillings from the current price of 5,600 shillings.
We will work with credit reference bureaus on a new system of credit score rating that provides borrowers with an opportunity to manage their credit worthiness. This will eliminate the culture of blacklisting.
For the issue of unemployment, President Ruto has promised to create employment for 800,000 young people who get to the job market every year to reduce unemployment. Ruto has also said that he has had talks with the Central Bank of Kenya to reduce the cost of banking transactions and bring loans to small businesses and to waive Kenyans blacklisted for defaulting paying debt. Ruto has said the debt that the nation is facing and serviced by 60% of the revenue has to be dealt with so to help reduce the cost of living.
Ladies and gentlemen, we must stabilize our public finances. This year, we will spend 60% of our revenues to service our debt. We are faced with Kenya shillings 60 billion in pending bills for goods and services supplied to government. Clearly, we are living beyond our means.
Edwin John Mokora, Look Up TV.
Asante.
John Mokara with that story. Now, on the 30th of June 2022, President William Ruto unveiled his 10-point manifesto before the public. Now, the points highlighted key interests of Kenyans, more so the state of economy, agriculture, infrastructure and education. Now, could the manifesto come to a reality after he was sworn in Tuesday? Our reporter Moses Okech sat with Simba Kiage, a strategist, for a clear view of the manifesto. Let's take a look at that as well.
That an inclusive, employment-creating economic model.
The Kenya Kwanza coalition released a 10-point manifesto that will echo the new governance. The flag bearer William Ruto will channel 250 billion shillings between 2023 and 2027 financial year towards the sector.
Well, when you talk about agriculture, and it's interesting that it's actually it was the first thing that he talked about. Going back, you'll find that, first of all, the president-elect, he's actually a farmer as well.
This is Simba Kiage, a strategist, who tells me the state of agriculture, which is the backbone of the country's economy.
We are very, very weak. It is actually a terrible state. I will say, up to this point, the government has largely abandoned farmers. We are on our own. And yet, when you look at the organic fertilizer, and for those who are using it, it's a lot cheaper and it's readily available. But then, because government has not gone in that direction and helped to sensitize people about it, helped to support the people who are in that business, we're seeing people struggling and even at times planting without any fertilizer just because they couldn't get this other fertilizer.
The outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta had unfinished projects in infrastructure, which Kenya Kwanza states will complete all roads currently under construction. Simba says,
instead of just maybe getting into that office and discarding everything and just starting from fresh with what an individual's plans are, I would hope that and especially with this situation, because he was a DP. So he was essentially in that government, right? And so he may have sanctioned quite a number of those projects. I will be waiting to see how he's going to handle the pending projects or the projects that are not yet completed. Because before you start on new projects, look and see from the projects that are already underway, that are already in flight, how many of those feed into your manifesto?
In an approach for education, the exam-based system of academic progression will be reviewed and introduce alternative entry criteria. Will his government support the current base curriculum?
He wasn't for CBC. I would be waiting to see what his experts will come and say, okay, how are we going to redefine this? Because I don't know whether they will decide to scrap it off, which again will put us into another spin. I don't know whether they will decide and say, okay, we're going to let it go, but we are going to see how to modify it into a better system. Then now from there, we can be able to see, so where do we need to go? How do we need to improve on this? 844 was not working for us because it's theory. CBC is supposed to be practical, but then is it really practical? Right? And how are we supposed to then change it and make it what it was supposed to be? Whoever envisioned it, right? The professionals that came up with all that, are we implementing it the way it was supposed to be implemented, as opposed to complaining about it and saying it's not working and we need to scrap it?
Do you feel that all these manifestos will be achieved in the next transition?
I believe there's a potential to achieve each and every one of those is possible, but the first place that he needs to start upon is corruption. Corruption is what is going to be the stopper that's going to make it impossible to achieve any one of these. But then if he deals with corruption, all the rest are achievable.
Is all these manifesto a realization, or it will come just to pass as a dream?
I would say this, if he asked me to get it to fruition for him, I would.
Wow.
So if I think I can do it, I believe he has a team that can. So the question is he going to be able to lead his team into fulfilling every one of those manifesto points?
Nice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Asante sana.
Thank you very much.
Now, as we focus on the transition into the new government that will be led by President-elect William Samoei Ruto, high expectations are on the rise, with the manifestos being in line to be achieved in the next government. My name is Moses Kech. This is Look Up TV.
All right, on that note, let's jump directly into the market updates, and we're counting them from yesterday. Now, remember, yesterday was also a public holiday, so we got to take them all the way to how they closed on Monday, isn't it? All right, let's take a look at that. And we're going to begin from what was the biggest gainers. And I keep on saying, we were picking it from where we closed it again on Monday, because KPLC was at 1 shilling and 76 cents. By the way, that particular one was a 10% jump. Now, here's the thing. This white was a bummer for us to take national holiday yesterday for the swearing-in ceremony of President Ruto, is because that 10% really was not essentially what was the final record for Kenya Power. Is because that's the allowed rise per day by NSA, that particular 10%. So now we stopped trading yesterday, so what a bummer. But then we have a president in the house now. Let's see exactly how they do today. Because then if that rise continues, that will be talking about 10%, 20%. And it will be interesting to see if Kenya Power indeed crosses that 2 shillings a mark. So it's up to you, by the way, to really see whether you want to go into Kenya Power shares, because you said that they're quite good. And let's close it like that. Centum, not so good news, because we're saying that for Monday it was at 7%. Not so good when we're talking about that stock being at what, 9 shillings and 9 shillings and 80 cents. Not so good for Centum. But anyway, they met the top 5 in terms of Monday's trading. Let's look at who were the biggest losers then. As of Monday, when the likes of Kenya Power was celebrating, again, National Media Group comes up. It's pretty much hot and cold for this particular stock, because now you can get it at 17 shillings, and that's exactly how they opened this morning. Sasini comes in at 22 shillings and 10 cents. But then Unga Limited, again, despite what is really going on in the country as far as the subsidies that we expect from the new president, Ruto. And I mean, at 30 shillings, now representing 3.23% drop. Not so good for them as well. But we do hope that with the ratification of that particular industry by Ruto, that things are going to be looking good for all the millers in the country. All right, let's go to the big boys. That is the big movers. And as we open this morning, now remember it's been 2 hours and 27 minutes of trading, and not so much now that, listen, that is where we are, especially when we're talking about how our market looks like right now. When your only thing, KPLC, we do know exactly what's going on at KPLC, and we do know who is promoting those shares right now as for Monday. But look at Safaricom, 13 million. Wow. Shares traded as of Monday. KPLC, 9 million. We do know where those shares are coming from. But then after that, you go to KCB, you go to Equity and Cooperative, essentially telling you it is the telecommunication quarters, that is essentially Safaricom. And then you talk about the banking quarters, that is Cooperative, Equity, and KCB. And the new boy who's really shouting in our group, that is KPLC, at 9 million. And we do not expect that today we're going to end at 9 million shares for KPLC. There might be a little drop because those particular numbers are from Dininyoro. As how things looked Monday.